Is it not staying?
I gotta flip the camera around. Okay, we're live. Let me see if I can.
If you're doing it on Facebook,
Yep.
when I try to do that, Facebook only takes the one camera, it won't take the other camera.
Well, it seems to be. I mean, it says live.
Okay.
There's not anybody watching right now.
Because I did that one time, it was dark and I couldn't figure out what's going on.
I think it's working now.
Okay.
I can try.
Hey, everybody. You guys here for the My Little Pony panel?
Sean, let's not go there.
Let me turn my recorder.
Are we allowed to take pictures?
I don't mind
I
taking.
am.
You can take a picture of me, I don't care. I do not guarantee the camera will last long if you take more than one.
Because they're doing door prizes, so I'll give you a ticket for those.
Last week?
You want to try these batteries?
It's a brand new battery.
I know. I'll do that from another corner on your phone.
Have you got your phone?
Yeah.
You just have your phone.
You don't want to charge those right now?
Cheap camera, man. Triple A batteries.
No, that's a phone. Yes. Oh no, that's double it.
Double A battery. I would get a double A.
So,
Memory full?
No.
it's weird.
Let me have your phone. And then tomorrow I'll get a thing for it. Last time I used it, I went to where's your voice recorder?
Technology. Can't live with it, can't shoot.
Okay, we'll do it that way.
Okay, good.
Yes.
All right. Hello. You are in the Star Trek Discovery panel. That means we're looking for regular Trekkies and people who want to become Trekkies. I am Mark Adam Miller.
Trekker, we prefer Trekker.
Okay. I will not go into that politics question.
Trek nut.
I normally say I'm the president, but I actually am the captain of the local Star Trek club. It's called the USS Vestas because we couldn't use Vulcan. Hello.
Hi.
And you guys see? Yeah, we're good. We meet the second Saturday of every month for a social, and then we have 2 panel discussions that happen at Kingdom Comics on the second and fourth Thursday of the month. So please come to that. If you want information about that, I have cards here.
I'm Sean Ray. I'm the host of Cosmic Potato, the Superfan Talk podcast, also the Prime Direction, and the Simply Syndicated Discovery After Show. So when Discovery is on the air, every week we do an episode. After the episode airs, we do an episode about that episode, and have a lot of fun doing that. So.
To get things started, I always like to see what feel of the room. So, who is our classic Trekkies here? Okay, we got 2 classics. How about the Next Geners? Okay, do we have any DS9ers? Okay, Voyagers. Okay, Enterprisers. Okay, and how good are we with Discovery? Oh, okay.
Everybody's seen Discovery, right?
Some of it.
Okay. So,
Best thing, I think we need to look at what are we wanting from Star Trek. Star Trek is over 50 years old. Actually, it'll be 52 this year.
right.
And actually, the Star Trek concept actually is as old as I am because it was done in 1964. So it's that old. What we're getting, I believe, is Paramount trying to, yes, make money from a product that has brought them money in the past. But they also have to realize, okay, what do people want nowadays? What are we looking at? And I think that's what we're getting in Discovery. I really am thinking we maybe are being too harsh on it. Maybe because who's not pleased that we're having to pay to watch Star Trek?
Everybody's okay with it.
Everyone's okay with it. I'm like, it's which I think is one of the things people are with what I'm the Ephesus is a member of Starfleet International, which is across the state. We are something like 4,000 members, and probably a third of those members they don't want to pay the amount. And I think that's one thing we're going to have to start looking at because I think that's where television is going. Back in the day,
Yeah, we've been begging for a la carte TV forever. Let me just pay for the channels that I want, and then we're kind of starting to get into that. And now everybody's complaining that they don't want to. I don't want to pay $6 to $7 a month or whatever. $10 a month if you don't want to watch the commercials. One thing that I think CBS is failing at is keeping something on there to keep the customer. Because once Discovery is over, there wasn't anything else on the channel that I really cared about watching. So they need to create even more.
Well, they're hoping their backlist is what's going, because you can watch MASH, you can watch Twilight Zone. I watched a couple Twilight Zones, if you can get that on Netflix. They're hoping you watch the backlist of Star Trek. I've picked up on a couple Enterprise episodes I've missed, type of thing. But that's the thing, because I don't know, they still have Signal TV, don't they? You can still get the local channels on your TV.
And in fact, you can get Star Trek every night from the original all the way to the Enterprise on Channel 40.
It's like Heroes and Villains TV or something like that. Yeah. They show all 5 series every single night.
Yeah.
Sunday night you get 2 episodes of cartoons, the anime series, before it starts.
Right. So, here's my ear.
Come on.
And you've got that, but and of course, cable sort of promised us this, and then they were there. Of course, sports drives a lot of what cable does because you can get the sports packages and stuff like that. I don't get into that because I'm not a sports person. Say no guts. But we're getting more of that, and I think and Netflix is what spearheaded us getting Star Trek Discovery, because Netflix brought Paramount a nice honking check for all the Star Trek original series, Next Generation original series, Voyager, DS9, all that, and Paramount says, "Hey, we got money here. How do we tap into this?" Now, when they said Discovery came on, then Netflix would lose their ability to show Star Trek, but they haven't yet. So I'm not sure what maybe Netflix said. No, you can't do that to us.
They have a contract. They have to work at least to the end of whatever contract they were under.
Yeah. But then Discovery, I think they extended the contract because the contract was supposed to end last year in September, a year ago in September, before Discovery started, but they kept postponing the due date of Star Trek Discovery.
Right. Yeah.
So we've got that. As a show, yeah, we got problems. I'll grant you that. We got another change in the Klingons. Why? I don't know. He's on third.
Well, the thing is, okay, so does anybody like the new version of the Klingons? Or anybody dislike the new version of the Klingons? The thing is, the Klingons have kind of changed a couple of times. And then if you watch The Next Generation, even just looking at Worf, the way he looks changes gradually throughout the series. So I wasn't like really excited that the Klingons were changing, but I was kind of meh on it because I expect anytime the new version of Star Trek comes along, they're going to change some things. Even though this is a series that takes place in the past, it takes place before the original series. I was kind of surprised that they were doing that. But you get to a point with a series that's over 50 years old that you're going to have to tweak your canon a little bit, or you're going to really get into a spot where you're not able to tell stories.
But you also got to think about when we first created Klingon. When they made Klingons, it was a down and dirty version of Romulans. And the reason was, it's surprising how much back then pointed ears cost. They were expensive. That's why we only have 2 Romulan episodes. I'm getting old and I'm forgetting.
Yeah, there's not many.
Because there's the Balance of Terror and there's the Enterprise Incident. Maybe forgetting one, but I think that's the only 2 that we have with Romulans in. And because of that, they had to figure out a better way what could be done easier. Adding a Fu Manchu mustache to somebody was a lot easier than putting pointed ears on it. So that's why we got the Klingons. When they did, when the Klingons were supposedly, this is anecdotal, I have not been able to track down. It was supposedly that the Klingons were supposed to have a spinal cord going across their forehead in the original series. It was too expensive. Pointed ears were expensive. Think how much a spinal ridge down the forehead would cost. So that they did want to do that, they just couldn't do it. And that's why we got it in the motion picture. And I think that's what they're trying. What I think they want us to do is to figure out, even though we do have the one Enterprise episode, I think what they want us to realize to think about, okay, this is what the Klingons really were supposed to look like back when Kirk fought them. This is what we're supposed to be really thinking. And they will evolve into what we know as Worf and, dang, I have lost my Klingon. Martok. Our Martoks and Klingon. And what's the chance of that?
Gowron.
Gowron.
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing we need to look at. Also, you can look around the room and look how much difference there are between us. We've got redheads. We've got someone who's very well thinking. We've got people that have hair that goes down to their backs. Some of them are wearing glasses. Some of us are a little more meatier than others. There's a difference, and I think, especially, the one that I really like is the albino, even though we lose him. We lose him right at the beginning of the episode, right off the bat. But he was very good. We're also getting a different aspect because technically we're not looking at it from a Starfleet angle, because Burnham is a prisoner of.
She's just a prisoner. She's
prisoner.
a mutineer.
Mutineer.
Yeah. She
mutineer.
commits mutiny in the pilot,
Mutineer.
which was surprising, but.
Okay, there may be spoilers in this. Do we need to be careful on our spoilers, or if we spoil something?
Just put your fingers in yours and go la 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 la.
Yeah. We don't wish to spoil anything, but I'm sorry. It's June. It's been out. You've had 6 months.
September of last year. Yeah.
You've had 6 months, folks. I think they've done a real good. The spore drive concept is typical science fiction. To me, I was thinking Spice Drive in Dune. Frank Herbert friends in here. So that's the Spore Drive is sort of like this. Dune is over.
Yeah, the Spore Drive is just. I mean,
even though it's bad science.
Well, yeah, because it's almost like a transporter because the ship can be anywhere instantly, basically. Which going in, something's going to happen because this is a prequel series, and they don't have that in Voyager. Voyager wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, that would have been fun. That'd be great in Voyager.
It's like we're 70,000 light years from Earth. After the Spore Drive, series over.
The reason I say it's bad science fiction, the Spore Drive is based on one scientific paper that was done very well. The only problem is Paramount did not give it to the fans beforehand so that we could check it out. Within about a month of it coming up, there was about several fans came up with papers that disproved the paper that they were basing this drive on. So
imagine that this proves some tech from a science fiction TV show.
Oops. And so Paramount the Paramount writers had to eat a little bit of crow and said, well, we're sure that maybe we can come up with something.
Yeah.
It didn't work in this instance, but it could work in another instance, which is a possibility. How many science fiction books out there have we read where they talk about something and it never happened? It's like, are you flying? Do we have a flying car?
Not yet.
So, we haven't got flying cars yet. So, and that's in all science fiction.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to have them in the 21st century type of thing. So it's that type of thing.
Well, what did some of you guys think of? What did you think of Discovery? Just like overall, did you like it? Did you not like it? Anybody?
I only saw the pilot.
Okay, because that was the free one. Yeah. The thing is, the pilot was almost like a prologue because even those first two episodes had a different feel. Well, the first episode came on CBS, and then the one right after that immediately aired on CBS All Access. They were kind of a two-parter, but they had a different feel from the rest of the series because when episode 3 came out, it was 6 months later, and Michael had committed her mutiny. She was a prisoner at that point, and the rest of the series after that had almost a different feel from it. For one thing, it was on a different ship. It was on the Discovery. The first 2 episodes were on I always pronounce it wrong. I know it's the Shinzo. I want to call it the Shinzu. But
I couldn't understand the captain of the Shinzu. She mumbled through her.
Yeah. Then you change a lot of the characters after those first 2 episodes too, because you had Captain Georgiou was the captain of the Shinzo, and then Lorca is the captain of the Discovery, and then you get a lot of stuff. Fans immediately started with theories and stuff after episode 3 because you started seeing all these black comm badges and stuff, and that it's Section 31, that kind of stuff. And it's like Section 31 probably wouldn't be wearing a badge that would identify themselves as Section 31, But the characters in the show, I connected with them because I thought that the characters got fleshed out a lot more in these 15 episodes than some of the characters on the other series really got in their entire run of episodes.
Some of them. I still think I'd still like a little more information on Saru.
Saru. Yeah.
Excuse me. Saru is the Galatian?
Kelpian.
Kelpian.
Yeah.
The Kelpian, who is got these little things that come up when he thinks
threat ganglia.
Threat ganglia. And it's an interesting character.
They're also known as his Deus Ex Machina.
And it seems like an interesting character, and they use him somewhat. He has his one episode where it shows a little bit about him, but it's really interesting. I think I hope we were going to get a little more from, because he ends up being the captain when they get rid of Lorca. Oops, spoiler.
Yeah, he was acting captain for a while.
Acting captain.
Yeah.
Michael Burnham, it's interesting. Again, another sibling of Spock that we didn't know about. But then again, Spock is tight-lipped, and I think we're being a little personal because Spock is really he separates himself from his family life from his duty to station, and so therefore I think that's the reason why we didn't know he had an older brother, and we didn't know that he had an adopted sister.
And I get the feeling that they weren't really very close because she's older than Spock. Is that right? She's older than Spock.
Yeah.
And so she went away to Starfleet while he was still growing up.
Yeah,
so,
he's probably, I think he's supposed to be, this is 10 years before Kirk's voyage. So we're in the first 5 years of Pike's, so he's not even on the Enterprise. He will not get into the Enterprise until Pike's second 5-year mission.
No, they I mean, I'm not meaning to correct you, but they released a novel when the series came out. It was Desperate Hours, I think was the name of it, and it was supposed to be canon. And in the novel, it takes place before the series, so it's when Burnham was still on the Shinzo, and it says on the first page that novel takes place 1 year before the Vulcan Hello, which was the name of the pilot, but it takes place 2 years after the events of the Cage. So Spock is the science officer on the Enterprise at that point.
Because they've always said this program is supposed to be taking 10 years before.
Yeah, it's 10 years before Kirk takes over the Enterprise, but Pike is captain of the Enterprise and Spock is there.
So,
And number one is his first officer.
So Spock's on the thing. That means now.
Which is one of the things that's been going on theories for season 2 is Spock going to be on the show? Is he going to be played by a different person? Are they going to Grand Moff Tarkin him and turn him into a CGI character or whatever?
Well, I don't think they can afford a CGI.
Yeah. I hope they don't. Uncanny Valley.
I think there's enough characters out there that we could find someone that Zachary
Quinto.
Zachary Quinto did an excellent job. So I'm sure there's other people that we can get that will look just as well. I'm sure they can't get Zachary because I'm sure he's expensive. And second of all, he is in the other section of. There are 2 sections of Star Trek. There's the television shows and there's the movies. Television shows are owned by CBS. The movies are owned by Viacom.
He'd be too old for what they want.
That's true too. We're getting into the age situation.
Yeah.
With the Discovery, we are getting, I think, another look at the Mirror Universe, which is a favorite of fans.
They were in the Mirror Universe for 4 episodes, which is a lot.
Yeah. They did a very good job. The only thing I was a little disappointed about doing Mirror Universe is that in Enterprise, in their Mirror Universe, Hoshi becomes the Empress, and there doesn't seem to.
But that was 100 years before.
Well, it's 100 years before, but there's no Giorgio like a descendant of Hoshi.
She could be.
Yeah, that's why, and I think that they could have done if they're going to try to do canon. I think they could have really done something to show that there's a Hoshi footstep or
Footprint.
Footprint.
Yeah.
Thank you. Footprint on that. The weapons are very good representations of probably what they really wanted the phasers to look like in the original series. They're very close to the original series phasers, but they're a little more technical, in my opinion. I can't. I'm not sure why they went with the uniforms this way. Maybe we'll get to see the blue and yellow and gold when because at the end of Discovery we do see the Enterprise a little bit revamped, a little bit.
Well, I thought that the uniforms were kind of a natural progression from what we had on Enterprise. because even the uniforms that they were wearing still had they had these lines of different colors depending on what part of the ship you worked on, what your rank was. So you had gold and you had blue and all that, but you know, on Enterprise they wore NASA-style jumpsuits, and everybody was wearing basically the same thing. So I thought that this was kind of a natural progression to lead into what they would be wearing. I think that in season 2, you're going to see different ships wearing different uniforms, because obviously, if you've ever seen The Cage, which I know you guys know this, but The Cage was the original pilot that they filmed of the original series, and they were wearing a more classic style uniform. They had some differences and everything. So are they going to be wearing those uniforms, and then the Discovery's crew is going to be wearing something different? I guess we'll see.
I always assume, but I always assume that your Class A and your Class B uniforms were standardized, but maybe your duty uniforms were maybe determined by the captain or someone on the ship. You know, that's why some things don't really match up, you know, as far as uniforms go. It's like everyday uniform, like say in Enterprise, could just be coveralls. Some of us in the original, you know, some guys in engineering walk around coveralls.
Yeah.
Some guys in early in Next Generation walked around in skirts.
Yeah.
So I was always thinking it's like a regular daily duty uniform might be a shipwide thing right there.
Which is a possibility, because that was brought out in the Star Trek 2009, because they all had the gray uniforms, but then when they went on the ship, they took that off, had the black T-shirt, and they pulled the tunics over. And of course, then in darkness, we got to see what they wore under the tunics. Oh, that scene. But I should say what the females wore under their tunics.
Right.
So that's a possibility. One thing that some people miss, if you really watch the original series, you will notice that their badges on their uniforms were all different. There were several different ones. That's why if you look on mine's got an anvil on it because I'm the Hephaestus. So that, and I'm using that part of the thing to. Also, there's certain things we can't use because of copyright, so we have to use some certain things. And that's part of also what some of the things they have to work on. Certain things CBS owns because they're part of the television series. Certain things that are from the movies they can't really use because Viacom owns those things. And I think that's sometimes I don't understand. It's interesting. CBS and Viacom are two different companies, but they're owned by.
Paramount.
No, Paramount's another question. I just did an article.
That's part of what made this series come to fruition, was because Viacom was making so much money off of the Kelvin Universe movies that were coming out that finally, CBS was like, we need to be getting some of this money. We own Star Trek too. So
yeah.
let's get a series out there.
Yeah, and that's why they're putting the series out, and they. I think the Orville showed that they were wrong, but they didn't think that they could make enough money in public television, so they decided to do it this way, and they wanted to build their all access on this show, even though it ended up having to be built on the spinoff to.
Well, they kind of use Star Trek to launch things a lot, because if you think about it, The Next Generation was the first series to ever be first-run syndication. I mean, shows have been in syndication before, but they weren't usually made for syndication. So to try that out, hey, let's use Star Trek. People like Star Trek, so they did that. And then when the UPN network launched, their very first show was Star Trek Voyager, because they knew Star Trek had an audience that would automatically be built into their new network.
Enterprise was for something else too.
Yeah, Enterprise started something.
Yeah, I forget what the Enterprise was doing something. So and the reason I think they have us. I'm sorry, we're test guinea pigs. We're going to watch Star Trek because we're Trekkies, Trekkers.
Trek nuts.
Like I said, I'm not going into that political. That's a political minefield I do not want to get
But I
into.
think it's also it's reaching people that have never watched before.
It gives us a chance to do that, and I think, and this is one thing I do think Discovery delivered on, is that it did its best to try to give us an idea of what the future can hold. Yes, we're going to have problems in the future. Yes, we're going to have to face them. But when we come together, when we get together and decide, okay, we're going to put our differences aside for this, and we are going to work and get this thing solved, we will do it. And that's what this program did. And that's what Star Trek, to me, has always been about. Trying to get ourselves to say, okay, yes, we're different. But so what? We've got a problem. Let's get it done. And that, I think, Discovery did. Discovery did that. Took them 13 episodes to do it.
What did you guys think of the Vogue / Tyler storyline? That, because this is one of the things that happened in the series that fans were talking about and fans figured out. I guess CBS and the writers didn't think that people were going to be able to figure out, but Vogue was one of the Klingons from the first couple episodes.
He was the albino.
Yeah, he was the albino one. And we find out later on when they introduce another character on Discovery of Ash Tyler, and we find out later on in the series that Ash Tyler was actually Vogue, and he had been. They were very they were very loose on what actually happened to him, whether it was whose physical body he was in. But anyway, Vogue was Tyler, but his mind had been kind of shrouded. He didn't even know that he was Vogue until later, and it was kind of a Manchurian candidate kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, I think it's we're still. I think a lot of people are still trying to figure out how well the internet does things. And I think this is one time where Paramount or the writers did not think that information on the internet would go that fast, not knowing how well Star Trek fans will pick something to death.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem with science. Normally when you have a science program, you're going to get scientists and engineers who, by our definition, I'm an engineer by trade per se. My degree is in applied mathematics, so I am an engineer. We're going to pick something to death until we figure out how it works and why it works and all that type of thing. So you can't put a program out there and give us a trail of breadcrumbs without us following the trail of breadcrumbs to where it leads. And yes, the Vogue Tyler thing came out before Paramount really wanted to come out. And
the fact that Lorca was from the mirror universe the whole time.
Yeah.
We figured that part out too.
I didn't catch that.
I didn't figure it out as quickly as I did the Tyler thing.
Yeah.
But by the time they got about halfway through their mirror universe arc, I kind of figured that he was going to.
I think it's like the second episode that I figured, okay, he's mirror universe.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's these things are discussed and gone over by every Trek. In my group alone, there were probably 3 or 4 of us watching it, and we were texting and Facebooking and checking every detail out. My first officer was on top of the Tyler thing almost from the get-go. And it shows what people had an interest in trying to see, okay, where is Paramount going with this? And I think it showed Paramount that, they do have something viable, and they're working on it. But I think they are hearing this and realizing that, okay, because they are, when these writers go to conventions and stuff, they are talking about continuity, and they are admitting occasionally, okay, we missed this one. The biggest continuity error that ever was released, not in Discovery, but was in First Contact. I remember back then when the writers were making First Contact, they were going to make Cochrane female. And they were like, and they were at the script, and the conventioneers were going like, well, you can't do that, he's male. And they says, where does it show as males? So they tried the writers over to, wherever the video room was, and sat in there, and then showed them in the episodes. And they're going like, oh, he's male. Now what? So that's why we get that female love interest of Picard, because that was really supposed to be Cochrane. But they had to change it because, oh shoot, this ain't going to fly because the fans are going to crucify us if we don't make
got Alfred Woodard out of it.
Is that the...
Alfred Woodard played Lily.
Cromwell.
Lily.
Alfred.
Yeah, Cromwell played.
Okay,
Cochrane,
okay, yeah. Which she did a good job, especially her spine is like you broke a little spaceship.
Yeah.
Type of thing. But that again, I think partly it's on us. We have got to be careful about what we hold on to as dear. I think we get ourselves into, like I said, Star Trek is 52 years old. You got to think what was happening in the 60s. This thing I hold right here, this has 1,000 times the power of what we landed the lunar module on the moon. The lunar module had 16K to land and actually ran out of memory and had to crash. And of course, it was a controlled crash, so they were about this far and they just... but they ran out of memory and they like... we did not land on the moon because of that. But now this thing, my wife gets on me when I call this thing a computer, but my gosh, this thing has it. And look where we're going. In a sense, Star Trek wasn't even thinking about this. Star Trek, if you work with the original series, they're talking about a core mainframe. Computers in 1960s were the size, double the size of this room. And that's what they were working with. They never dreamed of micro things and this thing, which is surprising. Even the next generation, they're still using a micro core, a huge core to run the ship. Yeah, true, the ship probably does need kilowatts of data to run a big ship like that and transport it through the warp fields and stuff like that. But still, you still need a major core, and no one can, even though they finally get around to pads, which gives us the iPad and the tablets we now have. So you get that. And that's one thing I think Paramount is looking at Discovery. It's like, okay, yeah, we're going back in history, but what can we predict what's coming about? Because a lot of the things we have is far beyond what, we had flip phones in the 80s and 90s, which were essentially the communicators that Captain Kirk did. So Next Gen had to come up with something better, so they had comm badges, which of course, even your HER, you got to consider, your HER had Bluetooth. Yeah. Because that little thing in her ear, that's Bluetooth. So what does Discovery, you want a program that's going to look like the 60s? No, we don't want that. And it's not going to pull in, your son's like, what did you say, 12?
He's 12.
He's 12. It's not going to pull him in. Or, I'm probably off, but you're probably about 20, maybe 19?
16.
16, okay, see, it's not going to pull her in. Or you're 16, 17? 17. So you're not going to pull these two guys in because, they already got this. So the stuff that's on, that was done in Star Trek is not going to pull in. If we want them to enjoy our fandom's going to have to change. And that's what we're going to have to look at Discovery.
What you guys think? Go ahead, you had a question?
Yeah, do you think this may be stupid? Do you think they'll ever bring any other characters from the past ones like they did in other shows?
I think that CT2 is at least going to have Pike from who was in the original series pilot. And I know that they've cast somebody to play number 1. Does she have a name, or do they just call her number one?
She always has a number one. That's
Yeah.
always number one. I'm reading a series, and I can't think of who the author is right now.
Yeah, I think they gave her a name.
And they gave her a name, but she's always been number one because of who she was.
Right.
Even it's like her name's Una anyhow, so it means one, so she's one.
Yeah. Now we did get in this season we got Harry Mudd, who was in the original series, which I loved. What's his name?
Ray Wilson.
Yeah, I want to call him White Schultz.
The thing is, some of you may know me from Kingdom Comics. I'm there on Tuesday to bag and board, and so I have to wait around for the comic books to come in on Tuesday. So I had CBS All Access, and I put it on the TV there, and I was running through it, and ended up starting, and wasn't even realizing and I started hearing his voice. And I'm like going, "That's Roger C. Carmel. What's going on?" And I assumed what had happened is that I hit the wrong Star Trek. And here was Star Trek Discovery. Here's Ray Wilson,
Yeah.
and he is,
He did a great job. He was a little more savage than I remember the original Mudd being, because especially the second time that we see him, which is the time travel episode that they did. Star Trek always has to have a time travel.
But you can realize we're 10 years before this.
Yeah,
when we
I know.
met.
And
This
he's
guy-
blasting people. Of course, he knows that they're going to reset, and it's time travel. So he's having fun killing Lorca 50 different ways.
Yeah, which is if you want to see an episode, that's the episode you got to look at, because that's one episode that pretty much can't stand alone on
Yes,
itself
it can.
without knowing about anything else. And it's really you can't go wrong with I call it the groundhog episode. You can't go wrong with those. They're always
Yeah, it's basically cause and effect.
Yeah.
For the next generation.
Cause and
We're in a
effect.
time loop. We're doing the same thing over and over.
And it's just that good. And he did a real good job of that. Now, you're saying, he has a little bit more of an edge. He is more, I think, by the time we see him in Star Trek, some of the stuff has, some of the rougher edges have been, he's had his defeats. Especially at Lorca's hands, and Michael Burnham. So he's gotten some of the rough edges knocked off of him, and he's realizing, okay, if I need to do something, because when you're a con man, you can't ruffle the feathers of your comb, because they're going to get on you. So you have got to be as smarmy and as conniving as you possibly can, to be as friendly and all this. And by the time we see him in Star Trek, he has figured that out and can get away with a lot of stuff by that time. And that's why he, even though he can't pull one over on Kirk, he did pull one over Kirk and Mudd's with it.
Yeah.
That's why he can pull something over Kirk, even on Kirk, because he has. This is sorry to flip genres on you, but I think that's the same thing we're having a problem in Star Wars. People having a problem with Solo. They're expecting this cockshirt driven person, and the problem is what we're seeing in Solo is the same thing. A person who has not gotten to Harrison Ford. This is the same thing with Harry Mudd. We have not gotten to that Harry Mudd yet. We're in the transition to get to that.
What did you guys think of some of the style in Discovery? Do you like the new ship? We talked a little bit about the uniforms. Do you like the way that they shoot it, that they shoot the show, film it? Anybody? Everybody loves it. One thing that I know, I like the ship because it's enough of a throwback to what we've seen before. The saucer section spinning when they activate the spore drive. It's kind of goofy to see, but it's also kind of cool at the same time. One thing that I didn't like, but I understand why they did it. If you watch, especially the pilot and the one that came after that, you see a lot of lens flare. I mean, it's like they're shining a flashlight right in the camera sometimes, it seems like. And I think they did that because, believe it or not, and like it or not, there are Star Trek fans out there that only know Star Trek from the Kelvin timeline. All they've seen is those 3 movies, So when they brought a new Star Trek series to television, they did a little bit of stuff that you've seen in those movies before, just to make it have a similar feel, to bring in some of those younger viewers that only know Star Trek from those 3 films.
So you can blame that on Jar Jar Abrams.
Jar Jar Abrams.
Yeah, we got to blame that on Jar Jar Abrams. And I couldn't believe it. Someone did finally get Mr. Abrams to admit that he did use too many lens flares in Star Trek. I couldn't believe it, unless I'm thinking that person has something on Abrams.
I wish that they. I do like that. I mean, they used it in the first 2 episodes. You don't see it a whole lot from then on, but so they just did it in those 2 episodes to kind of bring in the crowd. But, if you got anything, I got a couple prizes I'm going to give away. Do you have anything else?
I've got nothing else. Like I said, I'm part of the USF Festus. If you like discussions on Star Trek and sci-fi movies, I run a discussion panel the 2nd and 4th Thursday of every month at Kingdom Comics. Be glad to have you there. Discussion. We are discussing, I believe, the Orville, the 2nd Thursday of this month, which would be this coming Thursday. So we'll be talking about the Orville if you want to discuss that with us. Free snacks and drinks. I always bring pop, and I always have snacks, so you don't have to provide your own snacks. So it's at 7 o'clock at Kingdom Comics, and love to have you. You do not have to be a member of Starfleet to be a member of the Festus. Show up, you're considered a member of the Festus. The only thing is, if you want to take the captain position from me, you have to become a member of Starfleet. That's the only thing. The person who runs the ship has to be a member of Starfleet. Other than that, we'd love to have anybody who comes. We have a social. We should have a social tomorrow, but because of this convention, we've moved it to next Saturday. So you'd be welcome with that.
And I've got a few podcasts that I do. I'm on Cosmic Potato and the Prime Direction. I interview someone every month about their fandom, their Star Trek fandom. And I'm always looking for guests because I want just regular people. I've had a couple of celebrities, but for the most part, I just want regular people who are fans of Star Trek to just talk about their fandom. I've got some cards here. If you want to pick one up, it's got my website. It's cosmicpotato.com. And I also do the Simply Syndicated Discovery After Show. That's on simplysyndicated.com. And like I said, we do a new episode after every new episode of Discovery. But did everybody get a blue ticket when you came in? Okay. I'm going to give away a few door prizes. I got 3 or 4 prizes.
Are they raffle tickets?
I've got the other half, and I'm just going to draw it. And if I call your number out, then you get a prize. So
it is a raffle.
This is 539-3703. It may have been 2 minutes left. Okay. Now watch, I'll pull out another one in a video. 539-3702. That's you.
There you go.
Okay. You predicted me.
Let me see.
How about a Star Wars scarf?
Oh, sure.
There you go. Sure. Thank you. A couple more. 539-3705. Let's get that one. You get that one? Let's see. Oh, wow.
Like
How about a BB-8 Pez dispenser?
Oh, all right. I just want to say you look remarkably like my brother-in-law. I need to take a picture of it. Show it to my sister.
539-3707.
Oh, that's me. So I was like, I don't want
I got
this guy.
I got something special for you. Son of Zorn.
Oh, sweet. Thank you.
All right, I'll do one more. 539-3710. There you go. Let's see. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them? Sure. There you go. Okay.
Nice.
All right.
I do have cards that gives information how to get a hold of my ship, so feel free to get it. Also, I have cards that give you our schedule for the next up to the Hoover Sci-Fi Con. I will be at the Hoover Sci-Fi Con running 4 panels. So
We'll be there too.
Star Wars versus Star Trek.
5 panels. I don't that I consider Joe Crow's panel, but I'm on that one too.
Yeah.
So I'm
Oh
on
yeah, I
River
do.
Library?
Yeah,
At
that's
the
what
River
we're
Library, yeah. And I'll be there too. I do want to plug a couple of panels that I'm doing this weekend. I'm doing actually this afternoon at 4, which is a game show. It's a trivia game, sci-fi questions and stuff like that. So come to that. Tomorrow afternoon I'm doing Sci-Fi Jeopardy, which is another game show. And on Sunday, Joe Crow and I are going to be hosting the Mystery Science Theater 3000 version of the Star Wars Holiday Special. So if you've never seen the Star Wars Holiday Special,
Yes.
it's terrible.
You have to see it.
The only way that you are going to be able to get through it is to have somebody making fun of it while you watch it.
And if you watch it again, you remember why you haven't watched it.
It's bad.
She said, what time is Jeopardy?
Jeopardy tomorrow is at 3. I think it's at 3. It's at 3, and it's going to be downstairs in the corner room. Yeah, the panel room 2 downstairs. Actually, it's going to be in panel room 2 downstairs today at 4.
All right. Anybody want a card? Need a card?
You gave me one.
Okay.
Good job, guys.
Thank you.
I may have to give it another chance. Yes, this guy was selling these for $20 a size, but he's having a sale.
I love your don't panic.
He's on that side.
Thank you.
That's Mark. Yeah.
I want a full size one.
Did you get a card?
No.
There you go.
Thomas,
the interview with Virginia?
Yes, tomorrow.
Just past the quote.
Oh yeah, I'm hosting her Q&A tomorrow too.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I've been there, but it's been a long time, maybe you moved for all I know.
No, we're still there.
Whoa, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good deal.
He loves those things.
Yeah, I interviewed her on my podcast last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's super nice. Have you talked to her today? Yeah, she's super nice.
Well, actually, I had a chance to.